If you're not careful during your Georgia divorce, your case could get thrown out. Stay tuned to watch this video through. I'm going to tell you how that could happen and how to avoid it. Okay, so you're going through your divorce, working through all the details with your spouse, and now you want to know how long it's going to take until the judge is allowed to sign off on your final judgment and decree of divorce to complete the case. I'll get to that shortly, but did you also know that there's a trick that could be up your spouse's sleeve that could derail the whole process and cause an involuntary dismissal of your case? Stay tuned, that's what this video is about, and pay attention because I'm going to tell you what could derail that process. One of the requirements for a Georgia divorce is that you must be separated from your spouse for at least 30 days prior to the judge signing off on the final decree of divorce. So what does it mean to be separated? Well, most people understand that if you or your spouse have moved out of the marital home, you're separated. But did you also know that there's such thing as an in-home separation or a same roof separation? That's where you've been sleeping in separate quarters within the same home. You're considered separated even though you're still living in the same home, and you might even be eating meals together. Basically, you're living like roommates. Now, roommates can eat together, watch TV together, etc., but they don't sleep together. So if you're still sleeping in the same bed with your spouse, you're not really separated from them, even if you're not having physical marital relations with them. So how did this same home separation thing start? Well, it has a lot to do with the financial reality that most people can't afford to have two separate residences while the divorce is still pending, and financial accounts haven't been divided, and child custody issues haven't been determined, so neither parent may be willing to voluntarily leave the home without taking the kids with them, and technically all the money that comes into the marriage is still considered marital money. By the way, be glad you're in Georgia because you only need to be separated for 30 days in Georgia before the courts can issue your divorce. It turns out that there are about 35 states that do have a waiting period prior to the issuance of a divorce. Living in separate quarters in the same home will allow you to accrue those 30 days of separation needed for the divorce to be finalized, and then that can free up the funds needed for one or even both of the parties to be able to obtain their own separate residences. Now here's the most important part that often trips people up regarding the separation time period. You have to stop having physical relations with your spouse. No monster mash, no two-person push-ups, no matrimonial polka, no bedroom rodeo, no parallel parking. Okay, do I need to keep going? Because I will. No flipping pancakes, just stop. There are divorcing couples who are still very physically attracted to each other and continue having marital relations throughout the entire process. And every time they do, they are resetting the 30-day separation clock. So even if you're living 2 floors apart in the same home, or 2 counties apart, or 2 states apart, if you have marital relations during the pendency of your divorce, technically you've just reset that separation clock back to 0. So the requirement is really 30 days of separation and 30 days of no intimacy with each other during that time period. Got it? Now, you might be wondering how anyone would know if the shades are down. Well, sometimes one party is looking to stall the process and might induce the other party into a goodbye dinner, some wine, some dancing for one last night out together before the divorce, and then they end up back in one of the beds having that one last hurrah between the sheets. Then they report it to their attorney or the court if they're representing themselves, and the court could issue a dismissal of the divorce. That almost happened to a client of ours. Their spouse played mind games with them, knowing that they were in a vulnerable state, and they persuaded them to do some dancing between the sheets. Then they told their attorney, who filed a motion to dismiss the divorce on the claim that the parties had engaged in an act of reconciliation, and normally that act would be sufficient grounds to dismiss the divorce. If you've resumed marital relations, which is considered an act of restoring the marriage, how could you logically continue toward a divorce? Well, we won that case because we pointed out that it was not an intended act of reconciliation on the part of our client, and it was a ruse planned from the start by the other spouse to set up our client so that the divorce would be dismissed against our client's wishes. And because the other party was already in violation of a temporary order in the case, making the case go away would also make their violation go away. So the takeaway from this video is that if you're going through a divorce, be very aware of the date that you last did 2 things. First, stop sleeping in the same room and same bed as your spouse, and second, stop having physical relations with them. Whatever the later date is among those 2 actions is considered the date of separation from your spouse, and don't do anything that could change that date or get your case dismissed altogether against your will. Hey, thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to click subscribe, like, follow, whatever is appropriate for the platform you're watching it on, and turn on the alerts so that you'll get notified when we post our newest videos. Please share these videos with people you care about who need to see this information. Go ahead and repost them. Let's get this information out to people who need to know. Also, leave us some comments. Let me know if you have questions or suggestions for other topics, and let me know your thoughts. I really want to hear what you have to say. Just keep it polite. Remember to join our Facebook page at Georgia Divorce and Custody and join the discussion. And as always, I look forward to seeing you on the next video.